Chapter 26. Well then, now that I acquired a human body, I can't be walking around in fur forever. So I requested a set of clothing to be made. While the slime body is certainly inconvenient, it has fatal flaws to it. And that flaw is the lack of equipment. That is, other than some special magic items, I could not equip anything. It's not like I feel cold or anything, but I want some extra defense. Equipment that could protect me from at least one hit. Besides, the dwarves have made many articles with the materials the goblins have hunted. First and foremost, I'll have a set of kids' clothing prepared. Thus, I went to the dwarves, or more precisely to the tailoring log cabin, which was recently finished, apparently. The eldest dwarf, Garm, was busy ordering the girls' kablinas and overseeing production. Yo, Garm-kun, there's some clothing I want you to make me. Dana, what are you saying? How are you planning on wearing it? You can't use equipment, can't you? Foo 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 ha 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 ha. Don't look down on me. You thought it was the can't wear anything me, huh? Well, not anymore, ha. Well, what? Dana's body is growing, not a kid, huh? Not surprised, eh? Oh well, I can become an adult, but I want you to first make some clothing for this form. Oh, okay, then we'll start by measuring your size. Oy, Haruna, I leave Dana's measurements to you. I was measured by one of the tailors, Haruna. Of course, although I was naked, I was not embarrassed, since there's nothing there. My, how cute you've become, Rimuro-sama, Haruna said while recording my size. Cute? I mean, I know I think I'm cute, but for the goblins to agree. Must say I'm surprised that monsters even have an aesthetic sense. I decided to spend the following day by trying out my new skills. I head off. If I want to peacefully try out new skills, it's best for no one to be around. Having notified Rigordo of my absence, I ordered everyone to steer clear. And through the center of the city, I head into the cave, the place where I met Vildora. That underground cavern is wide, unnaturally dense, and most of all, uninhabited. The cave's monsters stay away out of fear. Now then, let's start testing this out. I've got unique skill, shapeshifter, extra skill, fire manipulation, from the flame giant, clone, fire state, and area boundary. So what should I start with? Since cloning seems promising, let's start with the flame giant. Fire state, wouldn't activate as a slime. Chances are, this skill activates only under certain conditions. I wonder what they are. As for area boundary, what that I could use, but I don't get it. So the point of the skill is to seal thermal energy within a barrier and prevent any from leaking, huh? But if I can activate this skill, why can't I use fire state? Wait a second, didn't I just get my hands on a barrier? Okay, in the first place, this skill's main strength seems to be in entrapping opponents. Quite a versatile skill, isn't it? The boundary's maximum range is 100 meters, shaped into half a spear. Does not expand underground. The smallest I could get it was just enough to cover my body. Its effect did not change, only the size did. Its strength? I create a clone on top of which I affix the boundary. Then I shot out a water blade at the barrier. Bashi, it was repelled. Ho ho, it's that strong. In that case, let's try out the paralysis breath and noxious breath. That experiment showed that the skill uses up a lot of magical energy. With the energy I left with the clone, the barrier withstood paralysis breath without taking any damage, but collapsed under noxious breath. In other words, as long as I supply magical energy, the barrier will hold. Then, I created a clone with considerable amount of magical energy and set up a barrier. I am planning on trying out Black Wolf's Black Lightning skill. As a Black Wolf, it is possible to modify the range and strength of the skill. Its two long horns are used to alter just that. Since the slime has no horns, use it all is how the skill works. Thus, I set the power to max and the range to a single target, fire. As for the barrier, I set it to its lowest setting. If the size is small, the consumption should also decrease. The result, Pika, Chudon. Not even the dust was left. It's too dangerous, so I guess I can't trust in the barrier all that much. In the first place, why did he disappear if I have electric current resistance and thermal fluctuation resistance? Somehow, this makes no sense. Maybe this Black Lightning skill is actually a special skill ranked about extra skills. But man, this sent a chill down my back. Good thing I didn't carelessly try it on myself. Such were my honest thoughts. However, the fact that I need to mimic a black wolf to use the skill greatly limits its applicability. Then I mimicked the flame giant and tried to use fire state again. The result was that I changed into a 2000-degree cloud, but as expected, the heat dissipates too quickly if I don't maintain the barrier. This skill too highly depends on the situation. By the way, when I use it with the barrier, fire state is an amazing skill. As expected, the 1A rank class, that is Freya's sphere, is a combination of the barrier and fire state that burns the opponent from the inside. In other words, any living thing that breathes air will surely perish. My affinity against the opponent was really good. As for how to use the skill, I'll consider that later. Now, with respect to extra skill, fire manipulation, I can't seem to explode things like Shizu-san did. What the trick could be, I don't know. Light a fire at my fingertip, throw fire from the palm of my hand. Such party tricks are easy. Also, I managed to gather heat in my hand and radiate it, thus creating a fire bluster. And wait, if I gather the heat, the power increases. I mean, normally fire is about 200 degrees Celsius. If I gather it, it rises to 1000 degrees, 1600 degrees. Now, just like with water blade, I just need to shoot out this magical energy. It struck my target at 10 meters away, with a temperature surpassing 1400 degrees. This splendid skill I decided to call Flame Bullet. Looks just like a certain alien's finisher finger beam. Also, I can probably just create a fireball in my hand and burn my opponents. Would I do something as dangerous as grabbing someone's head and threatening to burn them? Yeah, I probably would. Additionally, since it seems I can further raise the temperature with practice, I should continue doing so until I can manage an explosion. After all, unlike monster skills, its practice makes perfect. Here. Now then, regarding the last new skill, that is shapeshifter. That name sounds too much like shoplifter. How unpleasant. I won't be awakening to any criminal tendencies, will I? Not that I even fall asleep. Anyway, let's try out the skill, but I have absolutely no idea how to do that. At a time like this, great sage saves the day. Sensei, please. Solution. The effects of unique skills. Shapeshifter. Fusion. The ability to merge into a single being with a targeted fellow. Division. The ability to separate oneself and the being possessing you. If the target who is being separated lacks a physical form, they could disappear. These two abilities are yours to wield. I see. So Shiza-san's devil appearance was the result of this unique skill, huh? Just my first impressions, but wouldn't this skill mix well with mine? Although this slime body doesn't sweat, I certainly felt cold sweat at that thought. This is essentially the first step in understanding an opponent's abilities. But more importantly, can't I use this to erase their skills? Solution. Skills engraved upon the soul can neither be separated nor destroyed. Sadly, it wasn't that omnipotent, but I am certain that it will mix well with my skills. For example, could I combine with the monsters I mimic? Shizusan had combined with the Ifrit who resided in her consciousness. Could I also become a devil this way? Devil transformation should be something like overwriting original body's abilities with the desired one. Perhaps, as an option, I can also change my physical appearance, thus I try to imagine it. To overlay the flame giant's abilities on top of the slime, I wasn't planning on anything gaudy, but had my base raise its temperature to 200 degrees. Seems like I can now use fire state even in this form. Upon activating that skill, my aura had become that of a flame. My facial temperature also rose over 1400 degrees. Seems like this could be used as a weapon now. If I am ever captured, I could probably use this to escape. Thus, I tried fusing with every monster I had eaten thus far. The spider gave me white spots. A centipede, I grew fangs, gross. The lizard had me grow scales. The bat made me sprout demon-like wings. A slime with demon's wings looks pretty cool, actually. As the black wolf, I turned black and grew two horns. Horns like those of a unicorn. But because I can see, I actually still worry about where exactly the horns are placed. Next, the black snake. My body was covered in a gold pattern. Now, even as a slime, I can fully use every skill. As for the visual, now, could I use multiple times? The answer, yes, however, no more than twice. I could not manage a third, however, most of the monster skills do not require fusion, even if the potency of the skill decreases as long as I can actually use it. I don't see much of a problem. The skills I actually need to transform for are Fire State and Black Lightning, just them. Although not a skill, I don't need to mimic the bat in order to use its flight abilities. I can grow flightless wings, however. Therefore, Flame Giant, Black Wolf, or Giant Bat, choose two of these according to the situation at hand. That will probably become the basic strategy from now on. Well, as long as their abilities are useful, of course. By the way, if I try to fuse while mimicking, I can mix a total of three bodies. Thus, I've become a chimera. Thank you very much. Now, actually, the intimidating power of the monsters doesn't change all that much. The black wolf and snake are, after all, the most dangerous of the ones I have. Whichever I use as a base, the power doesn't change much, but the black wolf is a far more superior base due to an inherently higher speed. So when I'm in a real pinch, I'll be depending on him as usual. How then do the abilities change when the base is human? Was my next thought. Human's form primary merit is the ability to equip things, whereas any monster and magic beast I mimic will inadvertently be lacking equipment. Further, there are certainly powerful skills to be used while in human forms, but for now let me discuss the visual changes. Flame Giant, my hair and eyes turned crimson. Black Wolf, my hair turned black, with two claw legs sticking out. Where are the ears and tail? Damn it. Black Serpent, my eyes turned green and snake-like. Hands and feet became covered in scales and grew claws. Excuse me. Giant Bat, I grew demon wings. The skills I cannot use without mimicking are the same as before. So if I obtain some cursed swords in the future, this appearance may become the norm for combat. Now that I think about it, I should probably try making one of those. If anything, I can fuse with inorganic substances as well. What would that mean? probably gaining special attributes and abilities inherent to the weapon or something. While this is certainly something I would like to test out, I really don't know anything about this topic. Besides, to defeat the Demon Lord, shouldn't I be searching for some holy sword? Well, then I enter some kingdom, I'll look around. I completely forgot to test out my resistances. First, to note, along with extra skill, flame manipulation, I had acquired fire attack resistance. But even so, surely if I were thrown into the sun, I'd burn and die. Thus, the question is how much can I resist? This I just have to test with my own abilities. Up until now, I feared receiving damages and avoided such practice, but I am a different slime today. Just as I had considered while testing Black Lightning before, it's time to experiment on my own body. I have to find out just how much damage I can endure. Though I worry slightly, this experiment is absolutely crucial. I create a clone and control him, of course, as a slime. If I did this while looking like a child, what would the readers think? The current clone looks like a child, but I can also make one of a slime. Furthermore, if I get used to this, it seems like I can also replicate the equipment I wore at the time of cloning. The cloning skill is only limited as far as your unique skills allow. First, Raid Sage. As long as the user is within a kilometer radius, a clone can be created. Should the user go beyond that limit, the consciousness link is severed, and the clone can only respond to basic commands. Since vision is always shared, and an order can be changed at any time, the clone can be used for long-range reconnaissance missions. Second, predator. The stomach can also release the true body. A clone can be predated and stored but cannot be extracted. However, feedback regarding skills, etc. can be acquired. Third, shapeshifter. Only the fusion is allowed. Division is unchanged. Upon extensive research, a few limitations were revealed, but the skill remains pretty powerful. Thus, I spared a few times with my clone. The result, Water Bleed is very powerful. Black Serpent falls after a single attack. Black Wolf after two. The rest you can guess yourself. Flame Bullet is only a beam shot from my fingertips, but terrifyingly powerful. However, as a piercing attack, the enemy's death is not guaranteed. While their head and vitals become their weak points, I have to hit those first. For example, although I had shot through the snake's head, it did not fall. Had I let my guard down, I might have been defeated. Thus, although it's stronger than Water Blade, it's harder to kill with. I had accepted this point too easily. The strongest skill is Black Lightning. The strongest pair is Black Wolf and Flame Giant. The clone didn't immediately die with barrier and fire state invoked. Rather, I have to say that I somehow managed to defeat it. Perhaps it's best to think of fire state as a defensive rather offensive skill. Even so, other than the strongest combination, no skills found thus far can defend against it. Furthermore, while mimicking, if enough damage is received, I return back to normal. However, the damage incurred is not transmitted to the true body. Thus, if I die from a single attack, it can properly be called an overkill, and thus I've obtained various data. The rest can be verified by a great sage's simulations. Taking on the appearance of a child, I begin to live. Along the way, I encountered a centipede who quickly ran away at the sight of me. Fufufufu. Why, my presence has finally been recognized, although to the eyes I look just like a child. Status. Okay. Some translator notes and trivia. Okay, let's skip this. End of chapter 26. The Ogre Tribe. Ogre Tribe. Oh, Ogre Tribe na tayo. All monsters within the cave now run away at the mere sight of me, probably the result of my aura. Please, I left the cave. So I planned but. Goo, who is it? Pursuers? Young master. We'll only slow you down. Please escape with the princess. Wicked demon, don't try to deceive our eyes. And other similar grand statements. I could hear from a group at the entrance of the cave. Height surpassing 2 meters. A group of large monsters looking like a ragtag militia. Their bodies a lump of muscles. The ogres. Aren't these the self-proclaimed rulers of the forest? They look exactly as Rigordo has described. So what are they afraid of? Some demon? What's with that? Scary. A bit bewildered, I plan my escape. I check behind me but don't feel any presence. No hit signatures either. So the ogres can see it but I can't. This might be bad. Just when I thought I had gained new abilities, I guess I am still far from true strength. Cool, a demon? But kind, my bad, but I don't see it. Where is it now? While on my guard, I begin to make a retreat to ogre's side. But they still haven't responded to my question. Moreover, they are keeping distance from me. What, are they planning on using me as a bait? The moment I thought so, what are you saying? The wicked demon is none other than you, slime. You have not fooled their eyes. One of the ogres called out. Wow, what? To call such an adorable slime a wicked demon? That's not a nice thing to say. Oi, oi, wait a second. I am the wicked demon. Are you trying to play dumb? That aura, unbefitting of a slime. Did you think you'd fool someone? Oh, I was enjoying freaking out the cave's monsters too much and kept it open, huh? So I quickly pulled back the aura and I don't have anything like that. You must have imagined it. That. Of course, I couldn't fool them, but after insisting that it was just a misunderstanding for a while, I somehow managed to have them lower their guard. Oh boy, in the first place, why are they even here? When I so asked, they told me that they had escaped here. Looking closely, there are many injured with some gravely, so a normal monster would have died by now. The only reason they are still standing is surely due to the extremely high vitality of the ogre race. Still, I proceed to spit out some restorative medicine and treat their wounds. With their high vitality, even the diluted medicine quickly restores them to perfect health. While appearing surprised for some reason, they thank me. Now, although their wounds are healed, they are nonetheless clearly exhausted, so I decided to have them rest at my village. After all, I need to find out what had enough power to so decimate the ogres. They are B rank monsters, but from training, they can raise that to B plus or even A minus. The rulers of the forest, the strongest beings around, or so I heard. In any case, I'll guide them to the village. Deciding to carry them over there, I summoned Ranga. When called, he appears from within my shadow. That is, I finally succeeded at summoning him. My pride simply didn't allow the fact that Gobita succeeded where I couldn't, thus I practiced. And good thing I had done so considering the current situation. There were 6 ogres mimicking the black wolf. I carried 3 and left the remaining 3 to Ranga. Thus, we returned to the village. By foot, it would have taken more than a day, but at our pace, we managed it in under an hour. As expected of ogres, unlike the dwarfs who fainted, they were merely impressed with the speed. Thus, we escorted the ogres to our village, where I invited them to my tent, while in place of the tent stood the log cabin when I arrived, looking just like the blueprint I had suggested. Seems like seems like while I was away practicing my skills, they quickly set it up. While thanking the dwarves and goblins, I enter it. It looks just like I had imagined. Amazing. The blueprint I made by drawing on the plank with some charcoal and along with measurements, I passed it all to Mildew. After looking it over, got it, he exclaimed. By the results, seems like my handwriting effectively communicated the design. Furthermore, the room was furnished just as I had previously requested. As for the ogres, I showed them to the reception room and asking them to wait inside. I head over to the dwarves to pick up the clothing I had requested from Garm, of course. Assuming my child version, I tried the clothing on. Steel thread underwear and fang wolf outerwear. The materials used, of course, came from the previous pack leader, but for some reason the fur had turned black. Putting on pants and the overcoat, I felt like I dressed to impress. As an extra bonus, it seems that the fur had quite some magical energy stored in it. Donna, this seems to have tremendous defense power. It ain't just some normal fur. Satisfied, Garm gave his approval. The final item was not armor, but a piece of clothing, which is fine. Without it. I'm fine without it, but I guess having it is better. So I thought until I heard about, by the way, this attire just happened to have become a magic item. It will always perfectly fit the one who wears it. Such wonderful news. In other words, even if I turn into my adult version, the clothing won't rip. Well then, Garmkun, chances are the fur that had been constantly floating inside my magical energy stomach was thus strengthened. So, if I come across any good ingredients, I should remember to allow them to mature inside. Let's make a mental note about that. Now then, I shouldn't make them wait too long. Having found a fitting spot, I asked Hadana to prepare tea for 7 people and returned to the ogres. The ogres patiently waited, perhaps finding things unusual. They were looking around the room. Sadly, as the building had just recently been finished, it lacks any decoration. Hadana brought in tea and immediately left. I guess it's now time to try out my human sense of taste. I take a sip of the tea, delicious to someone who never need a fuss about taste or anything. This world's palate has already been able to impress me. It tastes like matcha, a bit bitter. I also feel its warmth. Not the effect of warmth, but just warmth itself. A bizarre feeling. The ogres seem to enjoy the tea. And after we had all calmed down, we began the discussion. Halfway through, I called for Rigurdo. And I also had the remaining 4 clan chiefs also attend. Hygiene also just started this break and came over. Perfect. Rigurodo and Ririna immediately came over. The rest are apparently very busy, so we decided to continue the conversation with the 5 of us. Why did I call for them? Because of the gravity of the situation. If I had to summarize the ogre story, it would be simple. A war, and the ogres were defeated. Just that, at the same time as we fought the flame giant Ifrit, the ogres were caught up in their own war. We could have taken on the rulers of the forest, and to win at that, the goblin chiefs were just as shocked. In an instant, their expressions tightened. The enemy was? They suddenly attacked our village with overwhelming strength. Those bastards, orcs. Unlike humans, monsters don't have any rules stipulating a declaration of war. But although they can't have bad-mouthed for the surprise attack, the fact that the orcs even attacked the ogres in the first place is strange. Orcs rank between C to D, stronger than your average goblin, but pose no danger to veteran adventurers. However, these weaklings attacked the strongest and even managed to win. Thus, I asked for details. The ogre village, though perhaps it was too small to call it that, only housed 300 ogres, 300 B-rank monsters. That is the size of a country's knight's order. If you are planning on subjugating such a village with rank B minus knights, you'd need about 3,000 of them. And the orcs possessing that much might. We all have expressions of disbelief. Considering that nearly every villager was slaughtered, the village chief and the small group apparently opened a path for their young master and the princess to escape. With a plain voice, one ogre said, "Had I had more power, you must be their young master." The last scene they had seen was that of their chief falling to the orcs. Also, a giant orc was releasing some strange aura. There were there others like him. While the elite warriors of the village approached those four, the remaining orcs invaded the village. They numbered around the 10,000. Of course, he did not count each one, but rather felt that there were at least that many. But regardless of method, there was an absurd number of orcs, and each one, like the humans, was fully armored in plate mail. Plate mail. Should that be true, then this was certainly not planned by orcs alone. Perhaps some country is using the orcs. Perhaps they have become pawns of the demon lord. Kajin muttered. Does that possibility exist? I thought that the demon lord avoids the forest on principle. Beyond the forest spreads the demon's continent. With fertile land production is undertaken by the enslaved masses on Golans. Thus, the demon's country does not starve and cares little for humans. And for that reason, a demon lord desiring conquest would be most likely to attack the humans. However, there could surely be a demon lord who, out of boredom, decides to start a war. The disappearance of the Jura Forest's guardian, Vildora, also meant that this particular type of demon lord would no longer be deterred. I see. In that case, I probably have to put more thought into the defense of the forest. Now, what happens next? I asked for everyone's opinion. I believe the orcs intend to capture our lands. Ricardo answers on everyone's behalf. They look at me, waiting for my opinion. Fight, run, or join them. The ogres, after all, would immediately become prisoners, depending on my decision. Quickly the tension rises. Well, how about we request some more tea? Having said that, I called for a second serving. As everyone sips their tea, their expressions loosen. Now then, what are you planning on doing? I asked the ogres. Isn't it obvious? Look for a chance and charge right in. Of course, I have to take revenge for my master. Me too. Well, I am yet powerless. I can't let those pigs leave. We shall follow our young master and princess. Oh, they know they're going to their deaths, but you guys not interested in becoming my subordinates? What did you say? Yeah, even if they do, the goblins won't be enough to sway the course of battle. We need to increase our fighting strength for when the orcs arrive. If you guys support me, I think I can fulfill your wishes. What are you saying? Simple, I'll help you guys. Well, I'll be fighting them anyways eventually. I see. The goblins will help us fight and will be used to protect this place, right? Exactly. By the way, it's fine if the agreement lasts until we defeat the orcs. Afterwards, I don't mind if you request your freedom. You can stay with the goblins and create a country, or you can set off on your own. How about it? The ogre called young master stopped to think upon hearing my offer. As expected of a B rank, this young master clearly has the abilities of a B plus. I can see intelligence in his eyes. He slowly closed his eyes and then opened them wide, and understood we shall become your subordinates. To raise their chances of victory, if even a bit, they decided to serve me. I'm glad to say the least. Perhaps I can save these guys too. I hadn't known at the time, but the ogres often served as mercenaries, and the vanguard army that Demon Lord had sent up just happened to be of the same occupation. They easily accepted my offer. When I had heard it, then I accepted them as friends without question. Alright, now then, let's name you guys. Huh? What are the usual naming? While the ogres are bewildered by the turn of events, I don't mind at all. I'll quickly give them some names. Today I feel particularly creative. I looked at the color of their aura. Young master will be Benimaru. Princess will be Shuna. Their guard as well, Kurobe, Hakuro, Soy, Shion. So I called them, and then I entered a state of low activity. Hey, for that to happen from just six of them, what's with that? When I awoke, well, I was awake, but the following day I got my answer, with hair burning like a crimson flame. Benimaru. Although he used to be big and bulky, his height decreased to 180 centimeters and his body tightened. However, his magical energy changed, enough to mistake him for a different being. They evolved that much. That, of course, was my intention. Clearly, they surpassed A rank truly, Onibito. DL note, ogre men, sounds weird. Two black horns protrude from below the hair, glowing more brilliantly than obsidian. Though I bet he'd find it unpleasant if I called him a beauty. Next, Shuna and Shon are women. If the princess were a guy, I'd be complaining. Ogre women were surprisingly beautiful, that evolution made them gorgeous. What's with this? Where did these idols come from? No, they aren't that good. From within her long, wavy pink hair, two white horns, could be seen white skin and pink lips. What a beautiful girl. Her height is about 155 centimeter. Crimson eyes, with a gaze filled with passion, stare at me. The other, Sean, purple dark straight hair with a single purple horn, white skin and red lips, purple eyes, as if looking into my soul, a height of 170 centimeter. Licking her lips as models sometimes do, true beauty. I want her as my secretary, so I thought from the bottom of my heart. Kurobe is in his prime, a dandy uncle. Hakugo is a middle-aged man. However, you can't underestimate him for it. Soe is the same age as Benimaru, darker skin and dark blue eyes, a beautiful man with a different hair around him, 190 centimeter tall, blue eyes that suit him well, and all surpass A rank. I'll say it again, they all surpass A rank. That's why I had to use that much magical energy. If you asked me, I'd tell you that all the strongest ogres that had fled here. And they probably already had names, but really, if they betray us, that ain't going to be anything to laugh about. And as if ridiculing my worries, Rimuru-sama. We humbly wish for you to listen to our request. If you are so kindly disposed, please accept our loyalty. And they simultaneously bowed before me. A reason to refuse, I have none. Thus, I obtained new comrades. The fact that I slightly feared their strength, well, keep it a secret. End of chapter 27. Chapter 28. Jobs. Making new friends is good and all, but will everyone get along? I had such a worry for a bit, but it was quickly dispelled. The ogres who have evolved into Oni, perhaps as they evolve closer to their ancestors, they'll unlock some special powers. I know I said that it seemed like their powers surpassed A rank, but as their powers stabilize, they could end up falling down to A minus. And so, even so, they have clearly become very strong. And furthermore, in a battle, perhaps more than physical prowess, special abilities are the key to victory. I myself defeated Ifrit thanks to abilities, so I must admit I am rather interested in what kind of abilities their bodies hold. Also, because of the evolution, the clothing they wore doesn't fit them at all, since their bodies shrunk. Though they are still bigger than the goblins, the sizes are too big, their armor broken, and their weapons chipped and cracked. Curiously, they had dressed looking like soldiers fleeing from a battlefield. And since their sense of style I found curious, I decided to ask. Hey, some 400 years ago, a young lad wandered into our village. The villagers were suspicious, but the chief warmly welcomed him. Around the same time, a lesser dragon was rampaging in the forest. After expressing his gratitude, the lad defeated the dragon. The villagers hallowed his name and passed down his praise to us. We began imitating the lad's attire, and that has been how we dressed ever since. And that's how it is. They imitated his equipment and successfully recreated it. So you recreated the equipment yourselves. As you say, the lad had taught us various techniques, and through trial and error, we learned them. Kurobe, for example, is a blacksmith that specializes in swords. Oh, to think that we already have someone to make swords. Let's quickly introduce him to Kaijin. Since they've already met yesterday, the discussion didn't take long. In fact, as if they had known each for years, they quickly started producing new weapons. Let's leave it to them. Moreover, there was something surprising. This world also has silk products. Most of clothing I've seen so far were made from something that looks like hemp. Goblins originally clothing, for example. Well, whether it actually is hemp or not, I wouldn't know, but it certainly looks like it. But I digress about silk. That is something that can be harvested from a hell moth, a monster living near the ogre's village. Well, to be more precise, it's from the pupa. If the larva grows into a hell moth, it is a powerful monster with bewitching powder that is wrong to be. However, during its transformation, it is perfectly harmless. So you look for cocoons and gather those. Shuna is an expert at this, and has been called the fabric princess. Let's introduce her to Garm and Dodo. Garm is in charge of everyday clothing and underwear. Dodo focuses more on dyes and high-class attire. While we cannot make those yet, we are making arrangements to produce them eventually. As for hunting the cocoons, we left that to the goblin cavalry. And while they're at it, they'll capture some larvae to breed in the village. As I don't know much about silkworm cultivation, this may just end up succeeding through trial and error. However, as we may eventually get some decent clothing, the pain may be worth it. About my steel thread pile, I leave it to you, I told Shuna and handed it over. Got it, I'll make you proud, Rimuru-sama, she answered with a bright blush. Adorable, she must be at that age where she is happy to be depended on. As an ogre princess, she probably hadn't worked with clothes besides as a hobby. So even a bit of responsibility seems to make her happy. The dwarf brothers are also happy to be working together with her. But please, don't touch her. Unlike how she looks, that girl's frighteningly strong. Probably if they try touching her ass, they won't be seeing the sunrise again. These two are pretty perverted, so it makes me worry. Well, the only reason I can worry about them is my lack of sexual desire. If I had it, I'd have to worry about myself over any other person. Because she's so damn adorable, truly an unihime. TL note, hime, meaning princess. Oh, okay. You'd be risking your life each time you'd flirt with her. Shuna-sama has found employment. Please calm your worries, for I shall devote myself to Rimuru-sama. Sean pushed herself between me and Shuna. It looked as if sparks were flying between them. No, I was probably just seeing some optical illusion. Ufufu. How could that be if I shall be the one to take care of Rimuru-sama? Perish the thought, Hime-sama. I shall not let it come to that. I personally shall fully devote myself to Rimuru-sama. Bachi. Lightning sparks. See, they're perfectly civil. And besides, I require no one's care. Having lived alone for a long time, I can manage all household duties. So let's take our leave, is what I wanted to do. Rimura-sama, between myself and Sean, which would you fancy at your side? They didn't let me run away. Ah yeah, Shuna has her waving right, so I'll depend on you when you're free, maybe? Depend regarding what? I don't get it, Shuna. Shuna, on the other hand. Understood, I have been favored, right? Ah, yeah, that's right. Let's leave it at that. Right, glad to have you. She smiled and nodded at my words. Cute. In that case, for the time being, please leave Rimuru-sama to me. Hime-sama. Please take care of our lord. Fufu, I leave to serve. Somehow, the conversation grew heavy. At that moment, it felt as if the temperature dropped in the room, but I probably imagined it. You know, there are plenty of things in this world to which you absolutely should say, I probably imagined it. This was one of them. Together with Sean, we walked around to oversee the construction. Speaking of, what are the remaining three Act 2? They were together with us up until a little bit ago. Hakuro-sama was our martial instructor, the strongest swordsman in the royal guard. Surely he went to confirm the city's defenses. Benimaru-sama and Soe seem to have gone to check their abilities. They are rivals and best friends. I believe they desire to test their new strength. I see. Certainly, even I understood how important it is to check your abilities. And Hakuru is a swordsman, huh? Really should have him teach me. But if he's busy checking the village, asking him for training will have to wait. Kurobe and the rest are also busy making armor and swords, so that should be fine. But I really can't wait to get a sword. I really want to imagine an army of goblins armed with swords. However, in actual combat, a spear is surely a better option. We went to look for Benimaru and Zoe, or rather we went to the area where the two great auras clashed. I played in the direction of the cave. It was a battle like you'd see in a manga. The red and blue aura would intertwine and fight for dominance. The earth split and the heavens cracked. That's how intense their fight felt. I couldn't believe my eyes, so this are Oni. Their armor crumbled from the strength of their blows, not that it could protect them in the first place. Their swords broke, but they continued the fight barehanded in what resembled karate, with set techniques and rules. It was not an amateur's brawl. They were ogres, right? Their motions were so fluid that I wanted to ask, as expected of young master, so he is also splendid. In our martial arts, barehanded skills serve as the foundation for mastery of the sword, is what she said. The sword is an extension of your body, thus first master the body. These words were passed down in the village from the young lad who defeated the dragon. Masters of martial arts, ogres, if adventurers encounter them, I wonder how many unfortunate adventurers met such a fate. Let's offer them a prayer. Having noticed me, the two immediately stopped their fight and rushed over. No injuries on either of them. If anything, they look like they've been playing fetch or something. Rimuro-sama, I humbly thank you for this wonderful power. With this power, I shall turn the orcs into the sea of blood in your name. Yeah, though I can't say I'm looking forward to it. Promising words. I'll leave it to you. Well, we still need the goblins to gather more information, though. Has scouting been going poorly? No, the goblins are excellent, but there are many dangers associated with approaching too closely. Right, for the sake of intelligence, I had sent out scouts. However, as some orcs may be especially careful, I strictly ordered the scouts to avoid detection. Upon hearing my explanation, Zoe said, Rimuro-sama, in that case, I shall go on recognized sense. Please order me. Looks like he has confidence in his espionage skills. Perhaps, now that he has evolved the powerful Oni, so we may gather better intel than the goblins. If anything, he looks cool-headed, so he probably won't do anything rash. Maybe I can leave it to him. Can I leave it to you? I hear in the bay. The moment he answered, his figure vanished from sight. Shadow movement. I see he has obtained a powerful skill. With effort, I should also be able to acquire it. Seems like I have another thing I need to practice for. Sorry for using your friend. It is of no problem. We must show results with the power you bestowed upon us. I see the orcs are your sworn enemies. After all, the day we fight them shall come. Still your rage until then. Of course, if there is anything I can do, please give me your command. I'll leave to become your hands and feet. Is that so? Your words relieve my fears. By the way, did you find the goblins capable? That I did. You had mentioned making a country here. Rimuro-sama as our monarch, Rigurdo as the prime minister. I fear I understand little in politics, but please leave the military matters to me. While we were conversing thus, ho ho ho, young master, you intend to put my old bones to use. However, if it be for Rimuro-sama's sake, then I shall force this old body to work. With such words, Hakuru had joined the conversation. I hadn't noticed his presence at all, nor his body temperature. Oi, oi, had he struck me now, I would have been hit once without any warning. This is what they call a master. In a better time, or perhaps had he been born as a human, he would probably be called a sword saint or something. Nameless, never having gone out into the world, this grandpa ogre quietly polished his sword skills. I can see how he'd be the strongest among them. Benimaru, are you stronger than Hakuru-san? Phew, Rimuru-sama, your joke puts me at an awkward position. This old-timer, rather, Hakuru, is the strongest man in the royal guard. He even surpassed my father, and besides he is of a mixed race, with the blood of the young human warrior flowing through him. As he said, my ancestor was none other than the master swordsman, Araki Byakuya. Japanese, huh? Seems like from the time of the katana. I see. In that case, you are a samurai, aren't you? A single casual word caused it. Magical energy escaped from Hakuru's body, mixed with that of his surrounding, and then reassembled. The amount of energy in his body did not change. However, its quality did. I forgot about it. Evolution due to class change, huh? A middle-aged Oni, but I seem to have reinvigorated him. Now he looks as if in the prime of his life. Well, he also looks shocked at the change in his body. I've done it again. To think that just a single word of mine could have such an effect. While his body was still adjusting to the increase in magical energy, it seems to have found the samurai class as appropriate to attune to. I just pray he hadn't become stronger than me. Good for you. From today on, you are a samurai. Samurai live by their loyalty. Serve Minimaru well. So I exclaimed. So I explained, wait a second, I always want to be made into a samurai. Benimaru said while looking at me with eyes full of determination. He really is like a stereotypical warrior. But to ask now of all time, I can do that, but are you fine with not becoming a village chief? You speak those words at such a late hour. I have chosen to serve beneath you. I have pledged my loyalty to you. Again, I offer you my loyalty. Please recognize me as your samurai. I do, as this of you. Sean as well, huh? If it has come to this, I guess I'll just have to bite the bullet. I understand. From now on, you are samurai. Live for my sake. I feel like I've said this yesterday as well. How embarrassing. But these guys, as you command, we pledge our entire lives to you. Without a hint of embarrassment, they pledged themselves to me. By the way, I gave Korobe the blacksmith profession and Shuna the shrine maiden class. That Korobe, though his power decreased as a result, he showed me terrifying skill at forging swords. I should ask him to craft me a sword soon. Shuna seemed to have been able to use black magic since the beginning, but becoming a shrine maiden seems to have revealed some secret arts to her. Unlike magic, it's not something she can teach. She can teach other people. Though if she acquires some seemingly useful skill, I'll definitely ask to analyze it. It doesn't matter that she can teach it to other people. I have Predator after all. I'll quickly learn it the moment she gets it. As for the guy who already has shadow movement, I know exactly what will fit him. Right? What every child loves. Ninja. If it's him, he could probably land a critical hit, sending heads flying. Actually, Hakoru can already do that. Scary. Just standing by him in human form makes me imagine my head flying off. How worrisome. I have to further consider their strength. Now that they have gotten stronger, I have to think of methods of improving myself. I can't keep depending on abilities forever. Seems like I have much to learn for the upcoming battle. Then it happened, revealing exactly what I needed to prepare. End of chapter 28. Chapter 29, Lizardmen's Invasion. There is a lake in the center of the Jura forest called Shizu. A marsh surrounds the lake and is controlled by the lizardmen. Countless caves surround their lands, forming a natural labyrinth, thwarting an invasion. Protected thus by the land itself, the lizardmen peacefully ruled over the lake. However, one day, troubling news reached them. The orc army was advancing to the lake. The head, upon hearing... Ay, shucks. Okay. The head, upon hearing this news, quickly issued orders. Prepare for battle. We'll crush them. The head was full of confidence. Had they fought on the plains, it might have been different, especially considering the lizardmen were outnumbered. But this battle would be on their terms. If they set traps and proceed carefully, they were sure to win. While sending someone to prepare for battle, he also sent a reconnaissance team to investigate the orcs. Knowing the size of the enemy is a must. Along with becoming the leader, his intelligence increased. The carnivorous lizard men would individually rank as a C plus monster. The warriors would reach B plus, B minus, and some special individuals among them could even reach B rank. The total number of their troops numbered 10,000, recalling half of their entire population to arms. However, even so, their abilities are rather highly ranked. If they properly cooperate and fight as a single unit, they can easily rival the army of a small human country. Thus, this battle seems completely to their advantage. There is no way we will lose, so thought their head. However, his heart was still heavy. Orcs were typically a race that wouldn't attack those stronger than themselves, and by no means are lizard men weaker. Had they attacked the goblins, then it would have made some sense, but why them? And thus the question slowly grew into an ease that tormented him. A bold personality, but with enough humility. That was the head of the lizard men who ruled them carefully for many years. And these lizards' fears were soon to come true. That much was confirmed, but the reconnaissance team, the orcs numbered 200,000. Impossible, so we thought. The orcs were indeed a race bursting with life, renowned for their reproductive abilities. However, even then, to prepare 200,000 warriors was unthinkable. How were they able to procure enough food? Who had united that many selfish and greedy orcs under one banner? With their power, at most 1,000 would follow. The best the head the best the head could do would be raise an army for 20,000. Are they divided into sections controlled by some outstanding individuals? But even so, someone has to unite their leaders. It couldn't have been. The mere thought evoked fear. He wanted to reject that thought with all his might. That's how terrifying that existence was. The Orc Lord said to be born once in many hundreds of years. However, no matter how hard he thought, only that entity could have achieved such results. If the Orc Lord has indeed been born, then the advantage he so depended on would probably be meaningless. If they fight normally, defeat is almost inevitable. They don't have enough troops, so the head thought, what could they do to escape from this predicament? If his worries proved mistaken, he would only jump for joy. However, one has to prepare for any circumstance before the decisive battle, so he decided to call for reinforcements. And thus he sent one of his subordinates. Unfortunately, it was that subordinate that caused the chaos. Lizardmen's raid leader Gabil Upon receiving the orders from the head, left the marshes, taking with him 100 warriors. Gabil was not pleased. To him who had a name, to be taking orders from the nameless head. How revolting! I am a chosen one. That very fact was the root of Gabil's pride and confidence. A certain devil he had met granted him this name. You showed promise. Someday I'll come back to call you to my side. So the great devil told him. He remembers those words, as if they were said yesterday. My great master, the devil Galmudo, himself bestowed this name upon me. So how could I be satisfied working under those low-class lizard men and their pathetic leader? For Galmudo's sake, I must take control of the lizard men. Gabil kept thinking the same thing. Is this fine? Of course not. In that case, what should we do? The orders from the head were to journey to the goblins' village and to request their assistance. He did allow some forceful coercion, but strictly forbid any action that would prompt a violent response. Pathetic, so thought Gabil. We should just conquer the goblins. We should have some faith in our abilities, and all will go as planned. Yes, we have no need for the weak head who overestimates the power of some lowly orcs. Isn't this the chance for takeover that I was waiting for? It is. So how should I proceed? Those lowly goblins can at least serve as meat shields, so let's gather them up and put those low lives to use. 10,000 goblins should be useful. Wait, I got a better idea. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world our power. My power. For that goal, I should proceed carefully here. Carefully, without letting my guard down. Wait for the right timing. First, gather forces. This Gabil will proceed onward to the goblin village for the sake of my great ambition. That the Goblin village chiefs gathered with paled faces. Compared to before, their numbers significantly dwindled. It all began with the coming of the Fangvolks, or perhaps it began when they abandoned the village of the named warrior. The villages which wanted to fight along that seemingly despondent village have now joined it. A savior appeared in that village, a being with unbelievable power. Those goblins came under the protection of that being, gained new powers, and successfully reconstructed their village. But the goblin chiefs can't do something as shameless as request to join them now of all times. Actually, a lot want to do that. There are many who already have, but if they join them now, surely they would be treated as slaves. That was the thought that prevented them from making a decision. However, time doesn't wait. The orc army has begun their advance. A few chiefs have decided to serve the orcs that rather than be trampled down by them, better to promise help in advance and live under their protection. With those intentions, they sent a messenger. The messenger did not return, not all of him. The orc envoy brought the messenger's head and said this: Kwahaha, we shall not permit your capitulation. However, if you chose to become our slaves, we shall at least spare your lives. Such is our response. And he leisurely left. Yet anger did not raise within them, for they witnessed that overwhelming power. That single orc could have slaughtered everyone in the village himself. Normally, orcs are a rank D monster, stronger than your average goblin, but not so overwhelmingly strong. Upon hearing the report, the village chiefs fell into an even deeper despair. They should have chosen to serve under fellow brethren at least. The orc who promised to save their lives also demanded that they give up all their food. We won't kill you but die. That's what he's saying. However, even if all the goblins assembled, they would certainly be annihilated. The goblins who could fight numbered slightly less than 10,000. Their brothers from the scavenged regions, those not included in their gatherings, could not be contacted, so they were out of options. At that time, an urgent report arrived. Lizardmen warriors who entered the village. It read, was this not a glimmer of hope? So the village chiefs went to meet the Lizardmen's raid leader. He was their only hope, they thought. Moreover, he was a named monster. Surely, he would become their savior. And then their messiah proclaimed, swear your loyalty to me. If you do, I promise you a bright future. We believe those words. Thus, the village chiefs made their decision. It was a mistake of the weak, who had no one to depend on. There were some who insisted on serving their kind rather than the lizard men. However, they were greatly outnumbered, so the goblins chose to serve Gabil. If only they knew that this decision would decide their fate. Hakuro is a master swordsman, strength without a blemish. Although he's at the age to be someone's grandpa, his spirit is clearly years younger. Having taken my human form, I am learning the sword from him. Although I haven't held the sword since those kendo lessons in middle school, my perception seed speed is 1,000 times the norm. Receiving a blow is a piece of cake. I also had a time when I had thought that, since moving around in the child form was unpleasant, I changed to my adult version. Come at me, Grumps, I thought, watching Hakuru. Then he somehow grew hazy at that moment. Supan! He landed a hit square on the top of my helmet. I felt no pain nor took any damage. The helmet was made from wood, so didn't offer any protection. Since the point is to learn these movements, it's best to hear when a hit lands. But really, it wasn't speed, it was skill. Completely a difference of skill. His ability is probably higher than mine. How unexpected. I wasn't planning on being conceited, but this completely took me by surprise. So this is a swordsman, a power one can easily recognize. Had this been an actual fight, well, I have a few tricks of my own, but if this were a surprise attack, I would have lost. Though even knowing this much, any mistake well taken will certainly lead to my defeat. Besides, there's no way Hakuro has gone all out there next to me. Benimaru has been knocked out with a pleased expression. If I didn't have the accelerated perception, I surely would have been in the same state. Not something to laugh about at all. Two of us taken out at the same time. Since this old man regained his youthful spirit, he became truly dangerous. And then, karan, 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 a strange sound resounded from the surrounding. What is that? That noise apparently was an alarm system the goblins had set up. Of course, they've done that without my knowledge, using the traps I had previously set as a clue. Ending our practice, we head over to Rigurdo. When he sees me, Rigurdo rushes over. There is trouble, Rimuro-sama. The lizard man's messenger has arrived, so he impatiently reported. By the way, Rigurdo has pretty much established this panicky image, hasn't he? That aside, lizard man. Sigh, I knew that annoyance would arrive someday, but seems like it's finally here. Let's calmly listen like I always do. End of chapter 29. Chapter 30. Envoy. Translator's corners. Oh, okay, let's skip that. Envoy. Okay, Gabil had easily acquired the goblin village's support. Without even having to show our power, the goblins quickly surrendered themselves to me. They are a pathetic race. After all, should they show my intention to disobey, I'd quickly force them to obey. Gabil had completely forgotten the head's words. He had every village bring out food from their storehouses, and for have every warrior assemble before him. The goblin warriors numbered 7,000, where they were clothed in battered leather armor and armed with stone spears. A poor fighting force, but good enough for now. Those without the will to fight have already run away. Clan chiefs, are there any other villages around here? The chiefs exchanged glances. One nervously replied, no, though not exactly a village, but there is a community. What's with that? The way they are trying to avoid the question was getting on Gabriel's nerves, and when he pressed further, they began telling him a bizarre story that there was a group of goblins hunting on top of fang wolves. However, that makes no sense. He thought fang wolves are powerful monsters that move in packs. Called the rulers of the plains, they've thwarted lizardmen's advances many times. For them to serve some lowly goblins, impossible. And moreover, they've concluded with a truly ludicrous statement. Those goblins obey the slime. A slime, the lowest of monsters. What wolf or even goblin would serve such trash? He decided to confirm their words. There's probably some trick involved, he thought. If he handled this well, he could gain control over the fang wolves. Gabil thus decided, for the sake of his grand ambition, the village was not where he was told. That had angered him, but he decided to be patient. In order to control the wolves, he probably needed to be more patient. To achieve his desire of ousting the current head, he needed to have more self-control. Thus, for the sake of his goals, he decided to be patient. Gabil received only one obstacle to his plans, a lack of an army. If only he could command the wolves, the other lizard men would surely follow, and with the rulers of the plains and the rulers of the marshes under one banner, how could they even think of to fear the lowly orcs? Gabil so believed, without even a hint of doubt. By expelling the orcs, they would become the true rulers of the Jura forest, and thus surely Galmudo-sama would distinguish them for their service. For such a grand dream had waited as long as necessary. The main army had already sent back to the seashore lake, ordering them to be on standby. Since they didn't have much provision, they had to act quickly. Time was of essence, and after receiving reports that tracks were found, he quickly issued orders, including himself. He selected 10 elites. Mounting the over-lizards, they ran towards their objective. The wolves were nothing to fear, as although they were certainly powerful, they obeyed some lowly goblins, probably the leftovers of a pack. I trained them myself and have them regain their former power, so we thought. Oh, but how could he have imagined what would lay before him? His head was filled with the dream of becoming a ruler of the forest and serving Gomudo-sama. That, to meet with the lizardman's envoy, I proceeded to the entrance of the city. There, we had built a small cabin that the guards used to rest in. The members who attended were myself, Rigurdo, Benimaru, Hakuro, and Sean. I had asked Sean to prepare some tea, but that ended in regret. She does not understand the beauty of gentle refinement and natural simplicity. She does everything with all her strength. As if screaming, strength is everything. When cleaning, everything must be erased, she concluded, and attempted to destroy the very building. Fortunately, we were able to stop her in time and did not need to rebuild it. I sincerely beg your forgiveness, she exclaimed dejectedly, but that doesn't mean we can let her guard down around her. She'll just try to solve any problem with her strength, so I worry about letting her out of my sight. However, she was ecstatic when I let her take weight on me. I just wish she wasn't that happy about it, and as I had expected, the tea was horrible. But was that even tea? I feel like there was strange grass looking like wakame floating in there. In short, that was not something you drink. Rigurdo, feeling what is this? Explain yourself. Question. Timidly turned away. What a guy. Benimaru, keeping his eyes closed, as if his life depended on it, refused to look this way. Damn you guys. And oblivious to our trouble, waiting for praise. Sean. Wait, what is there to praise? Having said my prayers, I moved to take the teacup. Ah, tea, huh? I was just getting thirsty. With those words, Gupta, who had just arrived, took the cup and drank it all. Good, well done. I'm proud of you from the bottom of my heart. Sean's face, however, twisted into a smile, devoid of any positive emotion. That Gupta did not notice. Couldn't notice. One last goboo escaped from his mouth before it had filled with foam, and Bikun, he fell to the floor convulsing. Dodge that bullet, that could have been me right there. Her face colored in surprise. Sean slightly inclined her head, but I won't be deceived. She's forbidden from cooking from now on. Sean, when making food or drink for people, make sure to run it by Benemaru first. Let's make sure she understands. Minimaru choking on something stares at me in response. Nope, she's your problem now. I leave her to you. I told him with my eyes, and thus both dejectedly hung their heads. I prayed there be less victims from now on. Since the alarm sounded, an hour had passed, and the envoy had finally arrived. And with a somewhat different attitude, a lizard man dismounted a giant lizard. Would he be their leader? Well done. With the perception, I'll allow you to become my servants. Be honored. Is he still asleep? Somehow, I have no words to say. What the hell is this idiot saying? Haven't you heard? The orc army is advancing in the forest. The only one who can save you, small fry, is me. So the orcs are indeed coming. I was waiting for Zoe to report, so this is within expectations. I guess it would make sense to unite against them, but all right, I've heard there is someone among you who has tamed the Fang Wolf. I'll make him into an officer. Bring him to me. Fighting together is good, but what if our ally is an idiot? An incompetent ally is worse than a hardened foe. That much is common sense. I took a quick glance at Rigordo. His mouth was gaping open. Binimaru scratched his head and looked at me as if saying, can I kill this idiot? Of course, I hadn't considered his offer. We refused. No, no, but about Sean. No, not about Sean's cooking. Their offer. Hakuto simply crossed his arms and closed his eyes. Or is he sleeping? And Sean, who is holding me, is flexing her arms. Stop, you'll crush me. But when she noticed my panic, she loosened up a bit. Being held in the slime body certainly feels good, but it's dangerous. I let my guard down. Being hugged to death would not be funny. Seems like she can't control her strength at all. In any case, this is rather troubling. Who would have thought the envoy would be an idiot? The one who tamed the Fang Wolf, or rather made him his servant, would be me. Anyways, let's continue the conversation. Huh? As a lowly slime? Then summon is now. If you do, I'll believe you. How condescending. Now I'm annoyed. This guy is completely ignoring us, going at his own pace. He's looking down on us too much. I've met many politicians and office workers before, but never before have I met someone so blatantly foolish. For such a moron, it should be fine to ignore any rules of civility. And besides, there is no benefit in making such an ally. I decided to change my approach. Ranga! I hear in the bay. Ranga appears from within my shadow. Recently lurking around in there has become his habit. Oh, it seems I have business with you. I permit you to speak. I prefer to leave these things to others, since there's always someone who can better manage such people. But really, the only one who didn't treat me, while a slime, as trash, was Riguru Doha. Well, there's nothing I can do about losing interest in humoring this guy. And by the way, it seems that for every person that recognizes my aura, while I hide it, there is an idiot who doesn't even while I display it. Ano? Even while I display it. That's something I need to think about. Noticing my displeasure, Ranga. Rather than with my lord, I have been ordered to speak with though. I'm listening. Speak. While intimidating the lizard man, he confronted the envoy, who in turn lost his composure for a second, but then quickly regained it. Right, so you are the Found Wolf, the chief here? I am the lizard man's raid leader, Gabil. Pleased to make your acquaintance. As I have just stated, I have received a name, so rather than that slime, how about serving me? He brazenly replied. Let me hit him. No, no, have to act like the mature monster here. Let's forgive him. I am an adult. Calm yourself. But more than myself, I want Sean to relax. Wait, any more. Wait, any more power, and I'll. Noticing my squirming, Sean apologized by patting me. Seriously, calm down. However, isn't he too arrogant for a simple lizard? Rangatu is begging to let him loose. Guru, lowly lizard, I am no longer a fang wolf. For you to not recognize that much insignificant being. Ranga gritted his teeth, and the dangerous crimson light filled his eyes. He is stealing his anger. Ranga-san, don't overdo it. Will the lizard survive? Were he not a messenger, I'd love watching him torn to pieces for his stupidity, but very well, I'll show you my power. Who will be my opponent? Oi, oi, that's a bad joke. Please read the mood, lizard. You're the weakest one here. At most, he might be stronger than Rigordo. I mean, even Rigordo possesses B-rank strength. Being the Goblin King, he is strongest warrior among the goblins. The average for a hobgoblin is C+, but his world's above that. And that's not counting his armaments. Sure, the lizard is a named monster, and may be strong among them, but he pales in comparison to anyone here. Where the hell is this self-confidence coming from? We exchanged glances. Who will fight him? Cuckoo, fine in that case. Fight with one of my storm wolves. Should you defeat him, I will listen. Ranga continued the conversation. Thank goodness we couldn't agree on who'd fight him. Everyone wanted to beat the guy senseless, and had a dangerous glow in their eyes, but somehow seeing them act like that made me relax. Even whenever someone had an outburst of anger, the rest of us seemed to calm down. For guys like this, only I seem to be able to keep my cool at all times, but whatever. Is that fine? I am willing to face you, you know. Well, if you feel like making excuses when you lose, you are free to send out your subordinate. Ooh, Ranga howled. Damn it, just when the anger had subsided, the lizard had to provoke us again. Ranga calmly summons a wolf. I didn't know he had learned such a summoning skill. Moreover, a black wolf appearing thus, I must admit, looks pretty damn cool. Garu, shut this lizard up. Gau, ay. And then, to the lizard, if you wish to borrow my strength, first show your own. Now begin, Ranga shouted. At the sound of his voice, the battle began. The lizard, no, Gabriel readied the trident and carefully observed the storm wolf's movements. The wolf, on the other hand, stood composed. He kicked the ground, covering the distance to his opponent in a single leap, surpassing Gabriel's perception ability and overwhelming speed. Completely unable to react, Gabriel never knew what hit him. In a split second, he received a blow to the chest. The wolf then circled behind him and held him by the neck with his mouth, of course, in midair. He threw Gabil into the air once and then smashed him to the ground. That all had happened in the blink of an eye. Not Ranga, but some average storm wolf had completely overwhelmed the B-ranking lizardman's raid leader, Gabil. I knew Ranga had been growing stronger recently, but to think that the other wolves have developed this far. As a result of the attack, Gabil's scale armor fell apart, and the lizard himself had fainted. Gabil's subordinates, who were busy encouraging him a second ago, now stood troubled. They could not understand what had happened at all. Oi, the winner has been decided. The offer I refuse. If you come asking for help to fight against the orcs, I may consider it. Today, however, take that way and leave. Upon hearing my words, the lizard men finally began leaving, and thus the troublesome lizard men's envoy had finally departed. However, the orcs are still going to invade, and we do not have a solid plan yet. Moreover, we seem to have met a headache inducing, unreliable allies known as the lizard men. The more I thought about these things, the deeper into melancholy I fell. End of chapter 30.